You wanted more? You got more. Welcome back to the Battle of the B-Shows, putting WWE's weekend programs head-to-head for superiority. As we start the first shows for June, we also begin the road to the King of the Ring pay-per-view under the brand extension, and we'll see in the coming weeks how the annual bracket plays out. With Velocity's debut starting off on the right foot last week, hopefully it can maintain the momentum going into week 2, as our main event features a battle of righteousness versus sinfulness, when Reverend Devon with Deacon Batista by his side takes on the Big Valbowski. Meanwhile, Sunday Night Heat features another hardcore title match, as well as the NWO in the main event. Syxx with the Giant, X-Pac with the Big Show, goes one-on-one with D'Lo Brown. Let's jump right in and see how this week fares for the B-Shows. We kick things off for the Blue Brand with a battle of former tag partners, as the World's Strongest Man, Mark Henry, takes on the Godfather, no longer providing his escort service. As the fans let Godfather know what they want after the opening bell, Mark shows his strength after a tie-up, but gets briefly stopped with a series of rights from the former IC champion. Henry's then able to reverse an Irish whip attempt and avoid some more strikes to land a running power slam. As Michael Cole mentions Undertaker viciously attacking Triple H a few days ago on SmackDown, Kama Mustafa hits a jawbreaker to stop Sexual Chocolate, targeting his right leg to keep the big man down. Henry reverses another Irish whip in the corner, but an eye poke leads to Godfather choking him before evading a rebound off the ropes to hit a leaping forearm for the pin, leading to a forceful kickout from Mark Henry. The future world champion nails a clothesline and an elbow before using all 350 pounds to hit a middle rope body avalanche, ending things off by whipping Godfather across the ring twice and locking him into the bear hug to make Papa Shango submit. We come back from the break as Albert heads to the ring to take on Hugh Morris, with Al calling Hugh the human Hugby. Hugby! Al coins his opponent the North American Grizzly as he throws some punches and knocks DeMott down with a body block, but Morris slaps Albert's chest in the corner and eventually sends him down with a power slam for a 2 count. A throat chop allows Tensai to set Hugh on the middle rope, but gets knocked down briefly only to stop Morris's axe handle with a pump kick. A few back shots help Albert transition to some body shots in the corner that send the former member of the First Family crashing down. As Albert gets caught using the ropes for leverage during the abdominal stretch, DeMott starts his comeback, ending with a German suplex for another near fall, as does his elbow off the top rope, despite Albert forgetting to kick out on time. When Morris fails to land the No Laughing Matter moonsault as A-Train moves, Hugh tries to avoid a few corner attacks, but gets sent crashing down again with the Baldo Bomb to hand Albert the victory. We go to footage of Edge and Hulk Hogan posing to the crowd after SmackDown went off the air, Voodoo Child and all, before heading backstage where Stacy and Torrie ask about each other's relationships with Vince and Maven respectively. Torrie also mentions to Miss Hancock how Dawn Marie could soon be taking her spot as Mr. McMahon's personal assistant after showing up on SmackDown, before walking away and leaving Stacy to ponder. Main event time as the Big Valbowski goes one-on-one with Reverend Devon, accompanied by Deacon Batista, as the former Dudley Boy asks for donations towards the Devon Building Foundation Fund before beginning his sermon.
You see, it is my job to bring you to the light, which I will, because you see, you're all so weak. And if I see it, then I know the man upstairs does. It says it right here in my sermon. Long is the way and hard that out of hell leads up to the light. Oh yeah. So please be generous, because remember, $1 today means salvation tomorrow.
Canadians don't seem to be too generous this week. Building fund, I've yet to see a doorknob or a hinge or a nail bar.
But the Reverend explains that the fund only works with US currency, and insists on the Canadian fans to donate twice with their native dollar before Valbowski makes his way to the ring. Devon attacks Val before the bell, and chokes him in the corner before going for a clothesline, as the film star recovers to hit some elbows and a knee drop before mounting some punches. Valbowski gets his shots in the corner as both men later knock each other down off the ropes, while the former tag team champion tries to go for a hip toss, but Val connects with one to keep momentum on his side as Velocity goes to commercial. We come back to see Val locking in a reverse figure 4 just as Deacon gets on the apron to distract the referee from seeing Devon tap out. This distraction helps the Reverend hammer throw his opponent in the corner and hit a dropkick on the opposite side. Devon uses the ring post to inflict more damage onto the former RTC member's back, as Alan Cole mentioned Maven suffering a leg injury during a match with Christian on SmackDown, with him being on the shelf for the next several months. Val tries to fight back, but gets caught off with a corkscrew forearm smash for a near fall after Valbowski moves his leg on the middle rope. A back body drop reversal stops Devon and lets Venus land a stun gun on the ropes.
There you go. Get up off the mat. Heel, I say. And hip.
With some more right punches, clotheslines, and a neckbreaker gaining Venus a 2 count. Reverend barely kicks out of the fisherman suplex before avoiding a corner attack to hit the saving grace off the second rope, but his opponent gets his shoulder up. Devon then misses the headbutt off the top rope as Val lands the blue thunderbomb for another near fall of his own, with Devon moments later knocking Venus into the referee and allowing Batista to use the collection box as a weapon to help his Reverend win this week's main event on Velocity. SmackDown's undercard featured some very competitive matches this week, so let's see if Raw's talent can match their level of intensity. With Raven quitting his announcing duties on the show last week, Coach opens heat on MTV solo, before Jacqueline ends up coming down to join him on commentary for the evening as we go to our opening contest between Matt Hardy and Justin Credible. Jackie brings up an issue with one of the Tough Enough 2 winners from the previous week.
But one of the contestants, Jackie, if she gonna step in, she have to change her name.
Whoa, what are you telling me?
We can't have 2 Jackie running around here.
Well, everybody knows you're about as tough as it gets. But Jackie was telling me Thursday night, well, you know, if I come in, you're the first one she's going after.
Really?
That's what she said.
Well, we'll see about that.
All right, well, here we go.
Matt and Justin start some collar and elbows in the corner before Credible punches him away as Matt returns the favor and starts working the arm. Justin then sends one of the Hardy Boys off the ropes, only to get knocked down with a neckbreaker. An attempted side effect leads to Credible throwing Matt to the outside, as Coach and Jacqueline mention Chris Benoit's return from his neck injury on Raw the previous Monday. Aldo Montoya cuts off the future Broken One on the apron before nailing a springboard leg drop on the neck for a 2. Credible gets a chop and some kicks in the corner before tossing Matt up for a sit-out powerbomb. A grounded chinlock stops Matt briefly as he's able to reverse the offense into a bridge and throw some more punches and a grounded fist drop. V1 avoids a rebound dropkick to slingshot Credible into the corner and land a body slam, but Justin gets up before he can hit the leg drop, only for Matt to finally hit the side effect for the near fall. The former ECW champion stops the Twist of Fate attempt and nearly sends Matt into the referee to set up a super kick that gets a 2.5. As Justin attempts a superplex, Hardy throws him off to hit the elbow and the Twist of Fate to win our first match on Heat. We return on MTV with Raven taking on Shawn Stasiak. As Coach's former broadcast partner stares him and Jackie down before heading to the ring. Shawn quickly knocks Raven down in the opening moments before being interrupted with another call from his home planet, as the former hardcore champion lands some chest slaps in the corner. Stasiak then reverses into a full Nelson hold before slingshotting the flock leader into the turnbuckle. As Coach continues questioning Raven's decision to quit commentary, Shawn stops him in the corner before missing a running attack on the opposite side and allowing the former US champion to plant Shawn's head into the mat for a near fall. Raven throws Meat to ringside and slams him into the barricade with a Russian leg sweep, before returning to the ring to hit a clothesline off the ropes and a knee lift for another 2 count. Stasiak applies a sleeper briefly before Raven counters, as the former Scotty Flamingo gets knocked down with a few rebound elbows off the ropes, a gutbuster, and a gut wrench suplex for his own near fall. Shawn leapfrogs over Raven before rolling him up for another close count, but out of another reversal gets knocked down with the Raven effect for the 1-2-3. As we then go to the highlights of the Tough Enough 2 season finale while Raven celebrates. Another dose of Stevie Night Heat with some hardcore action is up next, as Steven Richards defends the title against Crash. This match happening due to Crash's interference and inadvertently costing Bradshaw his shot during last week's title match against Stevie. Richards quickly goes on offense, but the challenger avoids getting hit with a dropkick and nails the head scissors that sends the champ to the outside, with Crash gaining a near fall off a crossbody from the apron. The Holly Cousin then gets a trash can and lid into the ring before Stevie sends him back in to hit the elbow and, much like the match with Bradshaw, removes the weapons before his opponent can utilize them. Steven applies the dreaded chin lock for a second before Crash goes for a schoolboy off the ropes for another 2. But the former BWO member reverses a Hurricane Rana into a set-up powerbomb for another cover attempt. Stevie brings the lid back in to nail it on both sides of Crash's head, but it's not enough to retain the title. He then goes for a flying nothing as the former Aaron O'Grady gets his foot up to block another lid attack, and get his comeback going to nearly win the title after using that same can lid. Steven blocks a corner attack and attempts a dive, only to get cut off and put into the Tree of Woe before Crash brains another trash can in. But as he attempts a running attack with it, he gets met with a Stevie kick that helps Richards survive another hardcore championship defense.
New World Order
The familiar tune of Rock House plays to the arena speakers as we get our Heat main event underway, with the NWO's X-Pac accompanied by the Big Show facing D'Lo Brown, while Pac still wears Kane's mask to the ring. The two former European champions start with an exchange that leads to Six quickly gaining the advantage and appealing to the crowd. D'Lo pushes X-Pac off the ropes to knock him down and hit a clothesline reversal, before going for an arm drag and then stopping Kid off the rebound with an elbow. D'Lo nails his signature leg drop for a 2 count, but gets Irish whipped and sent to the outside thanks to Big Show pulling down the top rope, as the Giant hits a chest slap when X-Pac distracts the referee, before sending the former Nation member back in. Pac gets in a few chops in the corner, but D'Lo returns the favor, only to get knocked down with a spinning sidekick for another kickout. As Six misses a standing Bronco Buster on the opposite side, D'Lo gets in a calf kick on the former DX member before hitting a spine buster for another near fall. One half of Lowdown catches X-Pac into the sudden impact and proceeds to go after Big Show before he can distract the ref. Going off the top to attack, but Schuster catches him and sends him into the ring post before tossing D'Lo over the top. Despite that, X-Pac still can't get the win, as the Click member chokes him out in the corner, setting up for the Bronco Buster, only for D'Lo to get the boot up.
The money spot? Does X-Pac have a side job? Anyway.
As he attempts another top rope dive, D'Lo gets caught mid-air with the X Factor, giving the NWO Original the pinfall victory, before he sends his defeated opponent into the waiting arm of Big Show to nail the chokeslam, before Bradshaw runs in for the save and to get revenge for the NWO's attack on Raw, as we wrap up another Sunday night of action on MTV. Now with the second week of the Battle of the B-Shows wrapped up, how did I feel about the action on Velocity compared to Heat? While both programs had some fairly strong matches on their respective cards, I'm giving this week to Sunday Night Heat. With the quality of matches on this particular week, I'm starting to believe that Raw's undercard during the early months of the brand split is quite underrated, and could arguably be on the same level as SmackDown's roster in the not-too-distant future. Matt and Justin had a good opener. Crash and Stevie were able to find a good balance between technical wrestling and hardcore spots, while X-Pac and D'Lo are two veterans that continue to deliver when facing off against each other. Raven vs. Shawn Stasiak was the only negative of sorts, as while the match itself was alright, I'm still not on board with the Planet Stasiak gimmick. I'll also add that Jacqueline was an okay commentator alongside Coach, with her having some good lines sprinkled throughout the episode. As far as Velocity goes, Albert and Hugh Morris had a pretty hard-hitting encounter, and I enjoyed Hugh's somewhat faster moveset against the more powerful and methodical pace that Albert had in comparison. Valbowski and Devon had some really good sequences in their main event, and overall was a great showing for the Reverend both in-ring and character work, with the rookie Batista watching and learning as his deacon. Much like Raven and Stasiak's match on Heat, I felt the only alright match for this week's show was Mark Henry and the Godfather, as this was more of a showcase for Mark and his moveset. That being said, having Godfather in there to make him look great, and given their previous history years earlier, was a great choice for an opponent, and everything ended up well without any major hitches in the ring. But what do you guys think of this week's B-Shows? Do you think Velocity or Heat had the better lineup, or are there certain names on either show that you enjoyed watching the most? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and once again, thank you guys for the support in wanting this to become a regular series on the channel, and in due time, we'll be back for round 3 to see if Velocity or Heat come out on top in the Battle of the B-Shows.